Are you freezing, Sparky? Are you freezing this morning? I'm going to get you some heat over your water dish so you can get in there. I'm going to get that down there so you can get in there and get warm. I used to warm up his water dish a lot, get it up to around 75, but he's okay with it around 70. But the room being 67, I have a feeling he's going to be a little gingerly thinking of getting in the water dish. And with him not having any water for 2 days, I used to get him and put him in the water dish thinking he didn't know when he needed to be hydrated. But I just leave him be when he wants to go into those modes. See, he's checking out and feeling the water dish and seeing if he can deal with getting in there, because it's colder than usual. So he don't mind it for drinking, but it's going to be questionable about whether he's going to get in. But this will help. This is an emitter, 60 watt. And these are about 18 inches above the substrate. But whenever I want to get a little bit more warmth, I drop them down a little bit to warm up his substrate, or sometimes I've held it over the substrate when it's been really cold and clammy because he's got such a big terrarium. For years, I thought he didn't know when he got thirsty. And I thought I had to put him over to the water dish or put him in the water dish so he could get a drink each day. I've made so many mistakes. I could write a book on all the mistakes that I made with Sparky. But yet, his will to live just was amazing through all of my learning curves of not knowing what I was doing. So you can see where this 10-inch, and I would really recommend this 10-inch deep dish ceramic pie pan. I would recommend it highly for a full-grown eastern box turtle. You can see, and Sparky is a runt, he's really small. You can see where the water comes on his upper shell, his carapace, however you say that. It's coming up about halfway, his upper shell. And that's just about right, the depth of this pie pan. And I can't remember exactly how deep, but I'm sure that I have that written down somewhere. That is 2 knuckles deep. So I would say that that would be approximately 1.5 to 2 inches deep. Because you don't want it too deep. You want your turtle to be able to get in and out. You want to sink the pie pan down a little bit into the substrate. You want to have rocks around it. Sometimes they'll go on the rocks. You want to make sure not to have the rocks up too close where they could get their foot caught in between the rock and the pie pan. You want to make sure not to have it too close to the walls of the terrarium or enclosure that your turtle's in, because if they would take and lean up against the side of the terrarium, they could do a backflip in the water and maybe drown. So you want to make sure there's enough space in between the water dish and the walls of the enclosure, so that your turtle won't flip over and possibly drown, not be able to right itself in the water. There's different techniques around the water dish. If you don't want to use the rocks, you could use the coconut bark around the water dish. That would help to keep your turtle from dragging in substrate into the water. The rocks help with that. These flat river rocks. You don't want a lot of sharp edges if possible on the rocks where they could get hurt. But one thing to really be mindful of is not having these too close to the water dish so that they won't get their foot caught when they're going in or out the water dish. They want to be able to move freely in and out and not get stuck, not get stuck in too deep of a water dish. Yawn. I have all of that nice fruit there for you, Sparky, and you won't even come out of your log. I know that it's cold weather, and I know we got snow outside, but I miss you, Sparky. There you are, Sparky. I see you. There you are. So you did come out on the other end of the log. I came out to check on you, and I was shocked you were out. You were out among the living. You've been all hidden down in that maze right there. What do you think, Sparky? There's the nut milk with pistachios, almonds, and filberts. I haven't added any salt yet. I haven't added any dates for sweetening. And I haven't added any vanilla yet. So what do you think? I just have to share this healthy stuff with you too. I just have to try and see. I might hit upon something at some point. I'm going to move your UV light over a little more. What do you think, Sparky? I know you want one of those great big giant hornworms, don't you? Is that what you want? This piece of egg carton I have in the hornworms container now. So I just pulled out one of the pieces and am trying to keep the hornworm out of the substrate. So Sparky won't eat substrate along with the worm. And the piece of greenery was in with the hornworm. That's its name. And the rest of the hornworm is under Sparky's foot. You fluffed up your covers, didn't you? Did you fluff them? You got a pile of leaves over here. Yeah, you did. He's got bare dirt right there. So what I wanted to go over this morning is his room is 69 degrees. I have checked with the temperature gun, which is just invaluable to me, where he has dug down and it's 70. The soil is 70. And there's a lot of variation in his terrarium. So I just sprayed it some this morning. I haven't actually watered it yet, just sprayed around this area. So over here, not that far away, over where the sphagnum moss is, I have an emitter, and it's 87. Now his room is 69. So if he gets too cold, and he's not that far away from that emitter, there it is, it's 70 there, and 87 over here. So then, I didn't do over here, I have another 60 watt emitter over here, about 18 inches from the substrate. There you can see how this coating here, it makes and directs it into just one given area. So I'm going to give him a little extra heat in one little corner of his, I think it's a 3 foot by 8 foot terrarium. Okay, so there it is. It is directed down onto the heat rock right here in this corner and the terracotta tile that we have along the edge. And see, they warm up too if you have some heat source onto them. They're just like a regular rock does. They will store some heat and release it. You need to really be careful each time you turn on a heat source, and you want to be careful to keep it far enough away from plastic. You don't want to, you just have to be really careful with any heat sources and make sure it's away from the plants. There's an example of a burnt leaf. I'm just totally excited. That is spaghetti squash, the lighter color, and the other is the butternut squash. And I put it down in front of Sparky. It was still warm. He can smell it. And he took a bite right away. But of course, it's the same color as the yam. And the fact that it's the same color as the yam, it attracted him instantly to that orange color. So this will be so exciting if I can get him to eat squash, which is another really healthy food for your turtle. If you can get them to eat, you know, a butternut squash, and then the other, the spaghetti squash, you know, I'm going to work with him and see if I can also get him to eat that.